Okay.
All right, ready?
Yep. La 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 la. Okay. All right.
Unique New York. Unique New York. Um, let's see. Hold on. I want to make sure we get the pencil because there's a Pennsylvania poll that came out today.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Maybe
I'm
even.
good.
All right. Here we go. Welcome to the Left Coast Live. It is Wednesday, August 7th. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined by the one and only stateless patriot, Stat Pat. We are back after a wonderful introduction to the American public by Kamala Harris of Tim Walz.
Yeah.
And I think there is a sense of relief across progressive America that she made the smartest decision of available talent, that
Mm-hmm.
she did implicitly extend a hand out to progressives with this guy who isn't afraid of stupid labels that right-wing America
Oh yeah.
use to dismiss the very valid intellectual propositions of the far left, things like Medicare for all, etc. So
Yeah.
Walz is an interesting guy. Give us your, now that we've had 24 hours to kind of decompress over the excitement of the decision since it was weeks in the making. We're finally here. We've got our guy. What do you think of the choice? What do you think of the public's reaction? What are your just, where do you think, how do you think the right wing's going to attack him? Anything you want to talk about?
Oh man. Like, all you really have to do is just counter the progressive excitement over Tim Walz, as well as like general Democratic excitement with just total unhinged right wing crybaby meltdowns everywhere. And why?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that the case? Because they have absolutely nothing. They are throwing everything at the wall. They're throwing this tampon thing against walls, seeing if that sticks. They're trying to attack his like military record and just try to claim
Yes.
that's like a somehow they're trying to counteract it because like they know that like they're desperate for the military vote. The conservatives know that
Right.
like they need that vote, and
Well, we're going to do a little experiment here in a second where we're going to watch the intro reels to Fox News major primetime shows just to see how they're going to attack Walz, because I watched Fox and Friends this morning just to see how right-wing America, right-wing media is
mhm.
going to handle him. And of course, they're talking about him as the radical left this and the radical left that.
Oh yeah,
Problem is he doesn't look like a radical leftist. He doesn't sound like a radical leftist. He's not a revolutionary. He's into structural change like we
yeah,
are, but he's not a revolutionary. He actually
yeah.
does have a legacy of effective bipartisanship, although I'm sure bipartisanship means something very different in Minnesota than it does nationally.
Yeah, there are like small little factions of the far left, I guess you can call them, that are salty about Waltz and not grateful that Kamala Harris didn't pick a far worse running mate. And it just chalks up to, oh, well, this is just more pandering or virtue signaling or whatever. They're not actually going to, like, we need a revolution. They just, that's their go-to tagline, and it's just like, how, by what means do you think a revolution is going to come to fruition? Because if one was to happen today, who would be the primary benefactor? Fascists or socialists? The authoritarian right
Who
or
knows?
the revolutionary communist left? It's like, just grow up. Be like, I hate. Trust me. Like we've gone over this before. I hate the like, just the slow, grueling process of pragmatism, but. Looking at where we're at now compared to a month ago, it just the momentum is on the progressive side. Inarguably, it's undeniable. The energy is here. So it
Right.
But of course, those voices are relatively small compared to the actual excitement and energy that is profound behind Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Well, I happened to tune in to Fox and Friends on the morning that they just so happened to interview Donald Trump. I don't know.
Really?
Let's do Tim Walz intros real quick because this won't take long. Let me do
Sure.
the intros. We got. Let's start with the Ingraham angle because it doesn't take more than like 30 seconds. So let's see here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Biden lied about running for president because of Charlottesville and got away with it. And apparently Kamala's new running mate
Okay,
thought
where
he
was the
could
lie?
and get
What
away
lie
with
are
it
you
too.
talking about?
But his lies were about his military service.
To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walz.
Yeah, you know where they're going. You know where they're going.
Yeah, they're desperate.
They're going after the military. He's not. He's not a real
What does
military
Mr. Congeniality say about these charges?
Governor, fans accuse you of stolen valor. Your response? Governor!
We'll be joined exclusively by the National Guardsmen who broke the story wide open. And why are the communist Chinese so happy about Tim?
I don't fall into the category that China necessarily needs to be an adversarial relationship. I totally disagree.
Jesus.
Plus, more zoom in for Kamala. Is inflation really that funny, though?
She's black. She's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible.
Oh yeah,
You know, I'm
it's incredible that
Jewish
you can be
and Irish.
multiracial. Coming
With
from the
whack job,
whitest guy I've ever
That's-
seen.
the focus of tonight's angle.
Oh, they're so fucking
All right,
desperate.
so that's her opening.
He did the dance.
Oh, no, well, that was funny, and it was impromptu.
Awful.
You know who else is impromptu
Yeah,
and really
Ross.
good?
Oh,
Jesse
God.
Waters. And he's
Yeah, let's hear what Jesse Waters has to say.
Welcome to Jesse Waters Prime tonight.
I spent 25 years in the Army. We can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only
Isn't this
place
a
where
useful-
those weapons.
Exercise.
As soon as the shots were fired,
Walz lied about his military service, a stolen valor investigation.
if he would have went to Iraq, he'd still be hiding under his desk over there.
Neiman Hama, Governor Tim Walz here. Happy
Stolen,
Chinese New
do they
Year.
not know what stolen valor means?
Gong hei fat soy.
The Chinese.
Own damn business.
Yeah.
Have they give you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters?
Wait, what'd you say?
No.
What'd you say?
Oh, I said, do they not know what stolen valor
That was a
means?
delay, I think.
Yeah, it usually happens when we pull up like YouTube and shit. But yeah, no, like just the desperation on their behalf is just so palpable. It's pathetic.
Nobody? Okay, great.
How long can Harris hide?
You about to find out.
Plus,
Bring back the joy.
Dramatic edits. Scary.
All right, the one and
are hiding in plain sight in front of friendly crowds of supporters, and they're cheering. Crowds aren't as big as they're letting you think. Anyway, you got Harris and Walz reading their speeches from scripts, likely that other people wrote. They take zero questions. There are no interviews, no press conferences, no town halls, no impromptu gaggles, no television hits, no appearances, not even on friendly venues like MSD.
or just avoid the press. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Just need to-
Do you want to hear Trump this morning? Because he's a blithering idiot.
Let's do it.
and he's fighting against them to have the right to go to the White House and become the 47th president. Let's welcome the 45th president of the United States, GOP presidential nominee, President Donald Trump. Mr. President, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So
Thank you.
Your
Good morning.
reaction to Governor Tim Walz joining Kamala Harris to go against you and J.D. Vance?
I would say my reaction is I can't believe it. I never thought this was going to be the one that was picked. I know him a little bit. I helped him very much during the riots because his house was surrounded by people that were waving an American flag. Doesn't sound like very bad people. And he called me, and he was very concerned.
Okay, hold on.
Very concerned that it was going to get out of control. He only had one guard. I guess it was at the mansion or at his house in some form. And he called me. I said, what do you want me to do about it?
So, okay. So he says... Oh, what is the narrative, actually? Were these dangerous people that Tim Walz just allowed to burn down the city, or were they people just waving the American flag and they weren't exactly a threat, like, outside his house? Like, what is it? And the title,
sounds like a Gretchen Whitmer situation.
Yeah, no kidding. And Trump could not be more thrilled over Kamala VP pick. That's complete bullshit. Trump is scared out of his wits. He knows that this was probably like the best thing that the Democrats could have done, and he had a meltdown on Truth Social.
Well, I
over
think.
It.
Oh yeah, we'll check that out. I think he gets exposed as he's talking to Fox and Friends that he's very nervous about the momentum.
About it. I was in the White House. He said, if you would put out the word that I'm a good person, and I did. I put out the word. I said, he's a good person. I hope everything's good, and everybody put down their flags. Interesting. And he called me back and he thanked me very much. That's my only thing I ever had to do with him. He's a very, very liberal man, and he's a shocking pick, and I'm thrilled. I'm more thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, when they selected him, it's really a gift for you because this election is all about the issues, and all of y'all have records. You've been the president.
This election is all about the issues. You really want to do that because let's just see real quick. Pro-life. I'm going to check this out. Well, you want to here? I'm going to look this up while I keep watching this.
President, we know where the economy stood. We know what your record is. We know what Kamala Harris's record is, and we know what his record is. And they are extremely progressive. Talk about how you're going to handle this on the campaign trail. Will you just really hone in on how they voted in the past?
Well, I am. I'm going to be doing that. What he wants. If you look at his record with no walls, no security, let everybody in, he's worse than they are. You know, nobody knew how radical left she was, but he's a smarter version of her. If you want to know the truth, he's probably about the same as Bernie Sanders. He's probably more so than Bernie Sanders. She is more so than Bernie Sanders. That's got to be your guy, Bernie Sanders.
It's so ridiculous. Even the most amateur political analyst will tell you that Kamala Harris is not further left than Bernie Sanders. That is junior high school D right there. That's what you get on that essay about modern day politics if you were to submit that in social studies class in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And it's not a great guide. But there's never been a ticket like this. This is a ticket that would want this country to go communist immediately, if not sooner. We want no security. We want no anything. He's very heavy into transgender. Anything transgender he thinks is great. And
what does
he's
that
not where the country
mean?
is on anything.
Everything he thinks is transgender is great. Everything is transgender.
This is a shocking. Let me tell you, this is a shocking pick, and I think it's very insulting to Jewish people, and I think it's very insulting to people that want security.
Go with Shapiro.
I think it's very insulting to anything having to do with making America great again.
Mr. President, is it true that your team thought for sure that it was going to be Josh Shapiro? Because there was one reporter who was at a J.D. Vance event yesterday, and there were some flyers printed up talking about how J.D. Vance, rather about how Mr. Shapiro was a fraud and corrupt and a lying con man and stuff like that. So it sounds like you were ready. to take on him.
That sounds like what you say.
Well, look, I'm no big fan of Josh Shapiro. I know the state very well. I think we're leading pretty good in that state. But I would have said it would have been a better choice.
We'll
I would have said others would have been a better choice.
Yeah,
and interesting, just about all of them, except this one, is better than her. She is not nearly as good as the people she was looking at. I know them all in one form or another. And in fact, there was a poll done, and there were some studies done. She's the worst of the group, and she's the one that's leading it. Look at this decision. This is a really bad decision for the country. You know, ultimately, I want the country to have good decisions, because ultimately what we want is for the country to do well. The country can't do well with these two people. They're very similar, and you would have thought she would have reached out and got somebody that's got some different, because
he's a shadow of his former self, man. His talent level has declined significantly. He cannot generate energy through the TV like he used to be able to. There's no doubt about it. He has lost not just a step, he's lost 2 or 3 steps.
No, exactly.
He used to be I hate him, but he used to know how to work the media, especially right-wing media. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely flailing, and they have no idea what to do with him, and like their messaging is all over the place. the nitpicks about Walz that they do try out there are just so flimsy and barely hold any water. They're just the most niche, irrelevant things. They have nothing to do with policy or just how much like they want to make him a liability as much as possible, and they know that he's not. They know that he's actually an asset, and he's had a very strong progressive record that a lot of Democrats and progressives actually agree with. That's why they're so upset that they didn't pick Josh Shapiro, because they actually understood that he would have been a liability, because there's a lot of dirt, a lot of baggage that Shapiro had that would have brought down the Democrats' chances, like without a doubt. And they understand this, but they have to play dumb in order to they because they know that their chances are slowly dwindling, and they're trying to save face. They're trying to remain calm and keep their composure, and it's not working out well.
Well, we're not going to do the whole thing of this, but let's keep
Who the borders are, which she doesn't admit it now. The only thing they have going is the media will play off all of the bad things that happened during her term. She was so bad that 5 weeks ago they wanted to remove her because she was unthinkable to be president. They were going to go with anyone.
What?
And then they were afraid that they would offend people if they did that. And all of a sudden, inch by inch, and then she ends up taking over. Now the same press that thought she was the worst vice president in history, which is true, going along with the worst president in history. And he went down after the debate, and there was nothing much they could do with it. They tried to come back. Then they brought her in, and everybody said it'll never be her. She's so bad. She's incompetent. And after they studied it a little bit, they realized it's not going to be so easy to do. So they say, well, look, the press is going to do whatever we want because the press is a rigged deal. The press is the media, outside of you people, of course, but the media is so they're trying to build her up to the next Margaret Thatcher liberal version, and I don't believe it's going to I hear she's hasn't taken one interview. What? She would never do an interview like this. That I can guarantee with any network.
Is the fact
she doesn't do interviews
because
she can't answer questions. I don't know how she debates. I hear she's sort of a nasty person, but
all right, I don't know if I can keep. I don't want to spend the whole show doing just him. But here's one thing. Okay, here are two things. That are coming to me just listening to Trump talk through that the second time. Right-wing America, or MAGA America, Trump's GOP, is very nervous about Walz in a demographic and psychographic sense. And I'm talking about anti-Trump Republicans. Because he does have a track record. Like we just said, chances are the Republicans he's doing deals with in Minnesota aren't the same kind of MAGA Southern Republicans that really dominate the GOP on a national level. So I'm interested to see how their behavior and what they say is driven by that fear that Walz is going to be popular with, I don't know, 10, 20% more anti-Trump Republicans than it otherwise would be. How many? Maybe it's probably more like 3 or 4 percentage points. But the point is that in an American national presidential election, that's enough to win. So that's one thing, is Walz is attractive to anti-Trump Republicans. The second thing is that they're just well. Go ahead. You can respond to that, Stat Pat. I'll think about what my second thing was. Go ahead.
It's fine. I'm actually I think we're going to bounce out of the studio, and then you just bring me right back in because I'm getting like frame rate drops on my OBS. All
right. I'll go back to the Trump interview, and then you just go out and come back.
Sure.
Again.
Yeah. You're fucking kidding me, dude. There we go. Okay. Okay. All right. Testing. Okay. All right.
It was pretty amazing, actually, to watch.
I want to come back to the debate. Just to close this up, you're in litigation with George Stephanopoulos on ABC. So right, and the judge says, yeah, this suit's going to go forward. So how could you go on ABC, especially if he's going to be one of the moderators?
Well, you could use that as an excuse. I could use that. I've said that. Is there a conflict? And, there might be George Slopadopoulos, and he's got problems, and, they've got problems. But if they're going to have I guess David Muir is going to be the host in that case. You have all the hosts are pretty much named, and you have Brett and Martha, and they're great. And I'd love to see it on Fox, but, it takes two to tango.
Well, maybe you get two.
She doesn't want to debate. Look, she doesn't want to debate. She wants to say, I don't want to debate, but I do want to debate. When it came to Biden, I accepted everything. I accepted Jake Tapper. I accepted everything because he didn't want to debate. After I accepted everything, the only thing I said, let's stand up. They wanted to sit down at a desk. I said, that's not going to look so great. So I said, but I accepted everything. And, pretty much that's the way I do it right now because I want to debate her. I think it's important for the country that we debate. Now, where it is, I'm all for Fox. I like to see Fox. I think Fox
so
would do
this
it
is
really
great. He actually did cave. So go ahead.
No, he just keeps on moving the goalposts when it comes to the debates. Like first, he didn't want to go through with ABC because I have some litigation or whatever. Like it's just something completely irrelevant because it had something to do with one of the hosts. And it's just who cares? Like it's just an excuse. And then he's crying because they won't actually move it over to Fox News. So he can have a safe space there, so he can feel like he has an advantage or whatever. And Kamala Harris is like literally anytime, anywhere. He's coming up with any excuse in the book to back out of actually facing off with her.
Well, it sounds like he's going to do it. It sounds actually like he is going to indeed debate Trump or debate Kamala.
Yeah.
Kamala.
Yeah, probably.
Yes. Oh, sorry, you didn't hear that. Let me bring it back up really quick. So.
And pretty much that's the way I do it right now because I want to debate her. I think it's important for the country that we debate. Now.
Okay. So that's huge news.
Yeah, I guess he's going to go through.
Trump is actually going to debate her after all, which I predicted because I anticipated that this momentum would continue. I didn't know he would cave on that threat of not debating her so quickly. I thought maybe it would be closer to the convention or maybe following the convention, but someone got in his ear and said, hey, look, you don't have a choice. You have to debate her because the momentum is only going to continue to grow for her leading up to the convention. Now that you have Walz, who's going to be dominating the media for the next 12 days, and then you're going to have the convention, and then you're going to have the momentum off of that all the way up into the debate. So his political future really does come down to that debate. The only thing that can save Trump's campaign is some sort of weird outside variable, some sort of weird international crisis that none of us here could predict, or Trump smokes her in the debate somehow.
Yeah. Well,
I can't see that happening, that's the only way I think he can recover from this momentum is if he somehow steps up and makes her look stupid in the debate. The VP debate isn't going to matter a terrible amount, and I can't imagine J.D. Vance is going to beat Walz. I mean, Walz isn't just superior communicator. It's not even close. So, to me, the big thing about Trump is desperation.
No,
they're desperate.
Yeah, no, completely desperate, and if you look back on Trump during the debate with Biden, or just any of his interviews and rallies and whatnot, he can't really even argue anymore. He's lost the ability to argue. He'll just bring up the exact same points again and again. He'll beat his talking points to death, like the dead, rotting carcasses that they are. The whole time, it's nothing.
He's lazy.
New. Yeah, that's exactly it. Every indication, the fact that he doesn't actually read, the fact that he needs everything broken down in picture form or little tidbits and little talking points, because he doesn't read briefings. He never did as president. He doesn't actually do like any actual research. He has everybody do everything for him, and if he's relying on everybody just to feed him talking points or info, like he has no method or ability to expand on any of it or actually like answer, like elaborate, you know. So it's I don't see any situation in which unless he just grows a brain and actually starts doing things himself and actually reads up on shit, I don't see him actually doing well during the debate at all. I think like Kamala's going to smoke him like a blunt.
The next big question I have about Tim Walz that we discussed on our last stream that I want to talk about again because it's getting some traction in other indie media circles is, will Tim Walz be like a Dick Cheney for the left?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, will he make public that he is not planning on running for president if and when Kamala completes 2 terms? Here is a hearsay-based piece of evidence that says, I'm right.
Yeah.
According to Edward Isaac Dover, Harris was struck by Walz offering he didn't want to run for president. Now, that is not complete confirmation, but that's like 80% of the way there. Now, a lot of progressives might be disappointed by this, but I actually think it's a good thing. We don't want to be waiting 8 years to get major legislation passed.
Yeah.
Him being a progressive and her being a liberal would automatically cause tension if Walz was planning his run for president 8 years from now, because, yeah, people do that. Just ask Dick Nixon.
Yeah. That's really interesting to me. If anything, it shows that like his focus will just be entirely on being like the best VP, the most consequential VP since Dick Cheney. So
Right.
I actually do agree with you on that. But like instead of using his power as VP and his influence to line his pockets for Halliburton or whatever, and you know, go off about Iraq or Afghanistan, he's going to actually like use his position as VP to push through progressive legislation, maybe even use the bully pulpit when it comes to Congress people and senators that aren't willing to play ball, and then just pass it off to the next person. Because like at that point he'll be like, if they win the second term, he'll be 68 by the end of the second term, and at that point he'll probably just like totally spent. It's like I said my piece, I did my due, I did my time. And it's time to pass it off to the next progressive successor, whoever that may be. So that I think that would be like if he's signaling this early on, that's I really appreciate it, because that shows a humbleness that we don't really get much in politics at all. There's a modesty as well.
If we're thinking of Tim Walz as a possible lefty Cheney, there are 2 questions that come to mind, because obviously Cheney was in charge of defense, and he also kind of ran the priority list, the agenda of the administration. I don't think Walz would have that kind of role in the White House. I think his purpose would first and foremost be about education. Finally, we're going to talk about education.
Yes.
And
Very,
then,
very important.
Secondly, I think his job on... Oh, sorry. The second question that I want to know the answer to is, when will this Harris was struck by Walz offering he didn't want to run for president. If that's true, when will that become widespread public knowledge?
Yeah.
Before or after this election? I didn't originally think this was going to come up until after the election, but now I'm thinking it might come up at the convention, and it makes the ticket stronger, I think.
Perhaps, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, that's... I'm interested now to see how, like, liberal pundits, Democratic strategists, or even Democratic politicians would react to that. Not to mention people on the right. Like, if Walz and Harris obviously win and they go through with, like, 2 terms, will and the fact that he won't be like the successor, I don't know exactly how a lot of them would take that, honestly, because
well,
like I just said, like, this kind of humility, this kind of humble attitude towards it, this, like, rejection of pursuing power after being VP, that might be just, like, completely foreign to a lot of these people that I just mentioned.
So I'm interested to see if this comes up before the convention or during the convention or even before the election, but it's an interesting wrinkle that makes the vice presidency more politically valuable.
Yes.
Because fundamentally, the American public can appreciate that the job of the executive in this country is extremely taxing. It looks really hard. If you want to do well at it, if you want to be lazy like Trump and let everything go to shit, then that's the kind of president, that's the kind of legacy you're going to have as both a president and as a human being. Is that you had the opportunity to change the world and you used it to just enjoy the presidential lifestyle and the power and the ass kissing and so forth. But Walz isn't interested in any of that. I mean, he's basically the opposite of Trump.
Yes.
I mean, he's basically this is the most selfless person that we've seen in national politics since I don't even know when.
Yeah.
No, I think he's even better than. I think he's much more huggable than Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, no, like Bernie Sanders comes off as a little awkward, a little standoffish, not the one, he, like, you want to talk about modesty. Bernie Sanders, like, that was like a weakness of his, honestly. He had a lot of opportunities to take the fight to the lies, the slander, the smears that were constantly lobbied his way by the media or by the Democratic establishment. Like Republicans are one thing, but to get it from liberals and centrists, he just never really had that reflexive bite back that Walz does.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. And I don't blame the DNC for playing into vibes right now. I mean, I know that most people vote on vibes.
Yeah.
So Walz kills it on vibes. He killed that at the speech last night. I adjusted the grade I gave him. Initially was a B plus, an 89 out of 100, but I think no, it was more like a 92, 93 out of 100. Yeah. And he's got a really high ceiling rhetorically, because he is a very passionate but appropriately passionate, what I would call leveled lefty politician.
Yeah, not to mention he has, like, nowhere to go but up from here. His star is going to shine brighter and brighter and brighter the more he gets into the public consciousness, the public ethos, and infiltrate just the broader discussion in general. You know, he's kind of like the star of the show right now. You know, he's kind of outshining Kamala Harris in a way. And it's only been 36 hours since the announcement.
All right, so there is a recording that's out featuring Trump calling Tim Walz during the George Floyd riots or protests, depending on how you look at them. Do you want to hear that real quick?
Yeah.
All right.
I know Governor Walz is on the phone, and we spoke. And I fully agree with the way he handled it the last couple of days. I asked him to do that. The whole world was laughing. 2 days, 3 days later, I spoke to the governor. The governor's, I think, on the call, and he's an excellent guy. You've got a big National Guard out there that's ready to come in and fight like hell. I tell you, the best, what they did in Minneapolis was incredible. They went in and dominated. And it happened immediately. Tim is on the phone now. Tim Walz. Again, I was very happy with the last couple of days, Tim. You called up big numbers, and the big numbers knocked them out so fast it was like bowling pins.
Our city is grieving and in pain. And I would just say, as far as the potential, the peaceful protesters who are expressing an outrage that is real. They witnessed 8 minutes of a man dying in front of them. Well, at that point in time, I did something unprecedented. I mobilized the entire Minnesota National Guard, and that's what the president was alluding to with the size of the force was capable. But I think, again, Mr. President, you asked on explaining this, I would just say, it's going to be very difficult. There are bad actors in this, but there is such a legitimate anger. Our real dilemma here is the transition back is to the catalyst that sparked this across the country, and that was what happened with the Minneapolis Police Department. So what we did is a lot of this, what you saw yesterday, was engaging civic leaders and the peaceful protests. And I would just close with, I think the guidance is you got to get a handle on it with that force. That is absolutely correct. And then the transition in the next phase is trying to get those spaces for the peaceful protests. And I'm happy to do things that we have to look at of how do we get reforms.
But, Tim, it showed the incredible difference between your great state yesterday and the day before compared to the first few days, which was just
absolutely.
Never seen that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's just Trump is basically like more or less like kind of handing it to him, like low key kind of praising his job.
Yeah.
That's gonna play so fucking well. It's like, cause that's like one of the main talking points that's going out right now is like, oh, the governor oversaw the burning down of Minneapolis during the protests in 2020 and whatnot. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, like, Trump was president at the time and kind of like said he was doing a good job. Like, he kind of they talked and like, here's the proof.
Yeah, you can't get away from the recording. That's what's funny about that. So the words from the speech, you can tell the words that they do algorithms on to see how they're going to play with the public.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going with joy with Kamala. That's a pivot off of Republicans making fun of her laugh. Yeah. They've obviously decided not to engage any race or gender commentary. I think that's really smart. As I said, they're going for vibes right now. They're not necessarily talking detailed policy for the most part, although Kamala did allude to wanting to pass that border bill, which makes me a little nervous. Yeah. They are taking back the words freedom and patriotism, which I like to see. And then the two big lines, the two big slogans that I think you're going to hear a lot from now until Election Day are mind your own damn business and we're not going back. Yeah. Those are going to really resonate. Mind your own damn business. Obviously, we're talking about reproductive rights. We're not going back. We're talking about everything.
Yeah, because like, how exactly do you respond to that as a rightoid? Are you going to be like, but I want to go back. Go back to what? Like, what are we regressing to? Like, what is appealing about regression to begin with? And mind your own damn business. Are you saying that the government should be involved in the personal lives of its citizens? Just like be consistent on this shit, for crying out loud. Like
there's also a circumstantial variable that the right isn't considering with this war on reproductive rights. IVF has become incredibly popular.
Yes.
And has only become more popular because women are having kids later in life.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole assault on reproductive rights, the fact that it includes not only these deplorable circumstances of rape, incest, life of the mother, those are all now debatable in some states, but the fact that it's getting into IVF technology and preventing people who have always dreamed of becoming a parent, and I cannot directly relate to that because I've decided not to have kids, but I understand. Pretty much all my friends are parents, so I understand. I've felt what the passion for parenthood that drives a lot of people in their lives, and that's a beautiful thing. That's another thing that Walz is going to crush it. Have you seen the videos with his daughter at the fair or whatever?
Yes.
The guy comes across as incredibly relatable.
Yes.
I mean, I wish he had been my dad, man. He could talk to him about anything. Could actually talk to him and not without the fear of judgment. Wouldn't that be nice to have?
Oh my God.
A parent that doesn't judge you, that actually just listens to you? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that explains why a whole lot of people become Republicans, because it's just fear of judgment from authority and whatnot.
It
like,
is.
Yeah, no, and the IVF thing is going to play a big deal as well, because I mean, just speaking of Republicans, a lot of them voted against protections for it, and then they were asked about it afterwards, and they didn't have a fucking clue what it was.
Right.
It's like there's no rhyme or reason for it. You can say it's like an ideological thing, but if it is, then all it comes down to is punishing women. You know.
Yeah, I thought there was a new Pennsylvania poll out, but I can't find it right now. I think it said that I don't, and it's not because it's not posted on 538, which is really weird because usually they have everything.
Do you remember where you saw it?
No, no, I don't. I know Fox didn't cover it.
Okay.
Because I watched a lot of Fox today. But, yeah, so I think they've got a good game plan rhetorically. They've got some really nice weapons in their arsenal. We're not going back, mind your own damn business. It's more of actually what a lot of other Democrats like Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom have talked about, going on offense. What does that actually look like? This is what it actually looks like. Tim Walz is what it actually looks like. And now we are benefiting from a very, shall we say, entitled or arrogant decision by the Biden administration to keep Kamala out of decision making and not really prepare her to be the heir to the presidency.
Yeah.
Now she can separate herself from all the Biden baggage. She's already said that she's going to have a new cabinet. So this is a whole fresh start for the nation. That's what I think. A lot of people looking at it as a fresh start. And wouldn't that be nice after 8 years of political stress? I know that the last 8 years I've taken time off my life. I would live longer. I would have lived longer had the last 8 years of American politics not been dominated by MAGA.
Yeah, if I hadn't been engaged with it at all, I would be so grateful. I'd be a whole lot more ignorant. I'd probably still be a center right dumb fuck, but but I mean that's the thing about just following politics in general. If you look at it at a surface level and you're just fed your talking points, you're going to have a regressive and ignorant attitude towards things. Yeah, if you're actually curious and you want to know more about how everything actually works and how everything gets passed and how everything it gets funded and how decisions get made and whatnot, the more you learn, the more you realize, oh, this is not a good system. This needs major reform. This needs to be improved 1,000-fold, and I want to be involved in whatever way in like making that actually possible, making life better for people, rather than like, like screw those people. Like I don't like those groups of people, so I don't want their lives to improve at all. Like it's like, because people like that that think like that vote more Republican and whatnot. It's about like, who's my enemy, like who can I look down upon, who can I like just ignore like the plight of. It really is a matter of empathy or no empathy, and like, yeah, that's all it comes down to.
Let's see.
Like they're right. Okay, I wanted to say this too, because I actually tried to make this case, because like they're like engaging with conservatives, not good for your health. Don't recommend it. But like, you want to see what they're going for. Like they're waiting to see what their talking points and attacks towards.
Yes.
Like
they're going to be fed the talking points.
Exactly what they're going to be. The right wing doesn't know, obviously, how to properly attack Harris and Walz.
Right.
And Harris is going to end up winning in November, because they show what Trump and Vance's campaign doesn't. Whimsy, service, charm, charisma, joy, like we talked about, and most importantly, relatability and empathy. Not cringe, not bitter resentment, and not complaining about personal vendettas or being held accountable for your own words and shit. Not making a gripe about people holding you to your words, you know? And like Harris and Walz, they're playing to the everyman, they're playing to the working class, they're playing to the family, not obscure corners of terminally online right-wing circles. And if that sounds like nothing or cliche, then conservatives really just don't understand what's going to play well with independents, unlikely voters, and normies. And like, if they just look outside the conservative media apparatus, they would understand that the momentum is no longer behind Trump.
The change that I would like to see happen, it's a subtle change because they are communicating it in a subtle way so far, is bipartisanship, reaching across the aisle, the fundamental premise that the politics of compromise are good, and the parallel premise that centrism is good.
Yeah.
We need to make the rest of the country aware that outside of the United States, other countries have addressed similar problems and come up with better solutions that we're not implementing. One area that, if you want an example, is urban law enforcement. There's a lot of techniques that Western Europeans use in Germany and in Scandinavia about how to detain someone without having to hurt them. So that's just one thing. Healthcare is always the easiest. Then there's UBI. We can talk about all those things till the high heavens. That's what I want to know is, you have to, attention, point of view, point, right? They have our attention now. They have chosen the point of view of the younger voter with Tim Walz. That's who's getting attention right now, is kind of me. I just turned 40. It's kind of like the elder millennials and the super old Gen Zers.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really just millennials though, because I'm an elder millennial, so it's really the people that are starting to maybe try to think about saving money for retirement, which I'm obviously starting to think about now that I'm 40.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think about, but not actually make steps towards.
Right. Yeah. Like I should get my 401k in order.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm not conservative. But to relate to what you were saying earlier about the diversity being a liability in conservative culture, this is always the quote that wins with me, is LBJ. And remember, LBJ was a racist. He was a self-aware racist.
Yeah.
And he got the Civil Rights Act passed.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's at the bottom of it. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. He'll give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you.
Yeah.
Texas Democrat, man. We miss him. We miss Texas. We'd love to get Texas back. Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin.
Yeah.
Those places are cool. They all got little wrinkles in those towns. There's no reason why Texas can't go blue in the next 4, 8, 12, 20 years.
Yeah. I see it. Even though it's like been established, like I saw an article about it like having the lowest standard of living out of any state in the country. Like it's actually like pretty miserable there.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forget
Wow.
exactly like the website that did the study on it, but yeah, it was like the lowest ranked in terms of I don't know if it was like standard of living or quality of life, but like they're kind of the same thing when you think about it. So like that says a lot.
So, according to CNBC, the 10 worst states for quality of life based on its study, and most of these states in the article were in the South, including almost all the states that border Texas. Texas received an F for quality of life with a score of 75 out of 325.
Yeah, that's exactly the article I'm referring to. I know. Yep, that's the one.
That's why it's so cheap to live there, is because it sucks to live there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So I got some. Do you have anything else I mean, we've gone through, like, did you have anything you wanted to say about the centrism stuff? Because that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about getting caught up in a politics of compromise. I'm worried about getting caught up in playing to the center. I'm getting caught. These are all just, they're not just cultural assumptions. They're political cultural assumptions. And they have a huge effect on the way people look at American democracy. And we're just peddling them.
Yeah, I did see. I haven't watched the clip yet. There's still a lot of stuff I'm trying to catch up on. But I guess, do you still watch Morning Joe just to get a grasp on the liberal attitude towards?
Yes.
Yeah. I guess majority of the report covered, Joe Scarborough and who's the dude on CNN he doesn't have like the best takes, like
Jake Tapper?
No, oh god,
Anderson Cooper.
No, he.
Don't worry about it, dude. Move on.
Right? Yeah. I guess they didn't really like the Walz pick very much, and were kind of upset about. Yeah. So, have you seen anything about that, and like what exactly like their gripes about it was?
No, the establishment pick. So, from what I've heard, is this was all Kamala's pick. She listened to everybody like a good leader does, and then she made the choice on her own. And the big deciding factor was Walz's interview and just relating to Kamala.
Yeah.
And it's the classic interview question. I'm going to spend a lot of time with this person, or I'm going to have to trust this person. How do I feel about spending a lot of time and having to trust this person, having to listen to this person, having to worry about whether or not this person is going to get in front of a microphone and say something stupid or outlandish or just plain sloppy or irresponsible. You don't have to worry about that with Walz.
You're literally entering a relationship. And
exactly.
like, is this person going to be an asset or a liability? And I mean, given what it came down to between Walz and Shapiro, that decision must have been pretty easy when it came down to it. Because I saw the reporting that the interview with Shapiro didn't actually go too well. But
right, that's what I've heard too.
Yeah.
His question, my understanding is that his question that killed him was, how much power are you going to give me, along those lines. And then Walz comes in, he's like, I'm here to serve your administration. This is your administration. The people are, you're the nominee, you're the presidency. I'm there as a backup plan and help in other ways. So I think they're going to give him that specific issue of education. She's going to, maybe he'll travel around the country and like talk to teachers and finally defend the teachers union, which for some reason the GOP has been extremely successful at demonizing in this country. The casualness with which conservatives criticize the teachers union. Oh, I don't like the teachers union. Well, why?
Yeah.
I mean, again, I get back to that cultural comparison. I want public school teachers to be as respected as military service members.
Yeah, or at the very least, police. You know, why is the police union just so well praised and held in high regard by the right, but not the teachers union? You know, like, would you rather have like better teachers in this country and like make sure they're actually taken care of and like teaching your kids, you know, and they have everything they need, or like just hyperfixate on punishment and militarizing the police and not holding them accountable for the often mistakes that they make, like and the fact that we don't even like train them as long and as thoroughly as other countries do. Like it comes down to the liability versus asset thing, you know. Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing because and also keep in mind Kamala Harris was part of the administration that strengthened the NLRB to successful levels that haven't been seen since the 50s.
By the way, in the latest data that I've seen, abortion is 63% of the country is pro-choice, whereas 36% of the country is pro-life.
Yeah, that's also going to play a big role in this election, you know. So hopefully with the energy and momentum that is behind the Harris campaign, that's definitely going to have a domino effect on down ballot races, and we might see just a big blue sweep for maybe not just the Congress but the Senate as well.
Yeah, we'll see, man. It's going to be wild. Hopefully not so wild, because the winds are in our favor, so to speak, in terms of getting back to a place of normalcy, not just from Donald Trump, but guess what, guys? We get to move on from Joe Biden starting early next year if all goes well.
Nice to be reminded of that, too.
I also liked in Walz's speech yesterday, we'll sleep when we're dead, or 3 months, 90 days. This is going to be so easy.
Yeah, that's the attitude I like.
It's the next 3 months and the next 4 years. I mean, you got to just understand that this politics of compromise, this cultural assumption that bipartisanship is a good thing, is destroyed by destroying the GOP on November 5th, 2024.
Yes.
Because once you have we've always, think about this. This is kind of, evolution is in survival of the fittest, right? Well, we've been trying this idea of bipartisanship now for a really long time, kind of since the Cold War. I mean, really since FDR. Yeah, so really since the Cold War started, there was kind of this assumption that Republicans and Democrats need to work together for the country to function. That's not true if you blow out the other party, which of course FDR did.
Exactly.
So that's the politics of dominance, or the politics of, I don't know, we've got to come up with a sexier way to say the politics of dominance, or the politics of crushing your enemy. But the point is that everything is made easier, and a lot of possibilities become more available if turnout is north, which I think it can be, of 60%. That's what I want to see, is the national turnout going to be higher than 60% this year, and I think it is.
Yeah, I'm very, very optimistic about turnout as well, especially like when Biden dropped out of the race and endorsed Harris, and the numbers that they were raking in, not just in terms of small dollar donations, individual donations, but new donations, people who have never donated to any political campaign before. That shows a hell of a lot of promise. So like I'm really, really looking forward to it. Like I'm still excited, you know. Like there is this like underlying nervousness. It's like we're on a bullet train right now. Is the track ahead clear? Are we gonna go off the rails somehow? What is going to happen? But all signs look positive. Like all the lights are green. Everything looks good.
It's clear sailing, but remember, have the attitude of a winner.
Yeah.
It's not about just winning. We're not trying to just win. We're trying to win big. In a sports term, we're trying to embarrass our opponent.
Big time.
We're going out there, and we want this to be the worst Super Bowl ever.
Yeah.
We want this to be Super Bowl 48, which, in case you forgot, was Peyton Manning getting destroyed by the Legion of Boom, the Seattle Seahawks. I believe the score was 45-8. First play from scrimmage was Manning giving up a safety in his own end zone.
That's right.
He didn't have the presence of mind to call a timeout. Oh, yeah. We remember.
I remember.
Can't believe that was 10 years ago, man.
Yeah.
Can you believe that was 10 years ago?
Jeez,
Wild,
yeah.
right?
I think yep. That's right. And the year just before that, the Niners lost embarrassingly. God damn it. But
to the Ravens, yeah.
excuse me. Yeah, no. Yeah. So bringing things back locally, I guess. So, did you want to discuss a little bit about what happened to your potential campaign job?
Yeah, sure. We can touch on that, and maybe you kind of help me out with some questions if I don't know how to talk about it. But because I'm conflicted, it's tough. It feels like a loss. So for those who don't know, I was looking at a fairly interesting campaign job locally. I just found out right before the show that I didn't get it. It's not the end of the world. I'm still going to volunteer. I told the person doing the hiring I'm still going to volunteer no matter what. Are there any other jobs? Yada, yada, yada. We'll see where it goes. This one would have really played to my strengths, but there are other opportunities that I'm going to make sure that this political season is productive for me in terms of learning how to serve the public, in terms of the actual mechanics of a campaign. Because I don't know much about it. I know a little bit about campaigning, not a lot about campaigning on a local level, and really at all. It's mostly just been national elections that I've been involved with. So, with that in mind, you know, I'm conflicted because I really want to help, but I didn't feel like I don't know. We'll see it. We'll see how the next step goes, because I've made it known that like I'm available. I'm here to help. Here the listening public hasn't seen these videos, but I made some, if you will, test videos for them that volunteers who walk in the door could sit down and watch and get trained on how to be a good volunteer. The whether it's the ballot initiatives or just how to talk to different types of voters, yada, 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 right? And I don't know if those were ever seen. So we'll see. If I can get confirmation that those were looked at, appreciated, and then maybe I get some kind of like in with the powers that be here or here locally. I don't know if I made it clear in the interview, and this is maybe where I just didn't have, I don't know if I did or not. It went by pretty quick, but I was like, this is, if you're hiring me, you're hiring someone that really wants to get involved on a deep level. Like Kyle Kalinske started Justice Democrats, for example. He ended up leaving, of course.
Yeah.
But there is that type of activism that I would like to be a part of, especially here in California. So I don't know if my energy is best served for the Democratic Party of California. We're going to see how the next few months go. I'm hopeful about the best, but I don't want to discourage anyone out there from volunteering. Just make sure you're honest with yourself about what responsibilities you actually want to have and what is actually fun for you, because whether it's phone calls or knocking on doors, you should want to do the task that you're doing for the campaign that you're intending on supporting. So, it was a bitter pill to swallow. It felt like I lost. I'm thinking I was coaching lacrosse this spring, and because kids were doing other things, kids nowadays play like 2 or 3 sports a season.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of kids going in and out from practice and games, not showing up, et cetera, et cetera. Started off the season strong with everyone showing up. Kids started missing practice, missing games. We make it to the tournament, okay? We win our first game comfortably, make it to the semifinals, and then we're down 3 with a few minutes left. We come back, force overtime, and then lose in sudden death in overtime. That's what lacrosse is. Sudden death overtime, for those that didn't know. So that's what it felt like. That's all by way of saying that was the last time I felt this low, was when I lost that lacrosse game with those kids. Because if we had won that overtime game and made it to the finals, that would have just, it was still a great season. I was proud of them, but it would have been the team was very talented, and we were only scratching the surface on how well we could have done. And that's actually kind of how I feel about my local Democratic Party right now. Is I don't think that they have taken a deep look at me and the value that I bring. I studied political communication in college.
Right.
This passion goes back 20 years.
Yeah.
And by the way, I graduated college Phi Beta Kappa. And by the way, I went to the most competitive film school program in the entire world at the time. So I know a thing or two about storytelling.
Right.
So, and I know a thing or two about how to visual storytelling, which is actually becoming really important. I think Kamala's more creative than we give her credit for.
I agree.
think she's more of an original thinker than we gave her credit for. I think she's very politically flexible and available, and that's why I'm gonna if Biden were the nominee right now, I probably wouldn't be interested in volunteering. But because Biden dropped out and Kamala, and even if she hadn't have picked Walz, I probably would still volunteer. But definitely now, because she has picked Walz, I'm definitely going to volunteer, even though they didn't give me the job. But it was heartbreaking.
Right. I do think that she has just been waiting for her moment to shine and shine brightly. And now that she's been given this opportunity, she's hitting the ground running and not wasting any time doing so, making the case, getting out there, and, doing what she's just been itching to do since she ran for president in the 2020 primaries. And, her getting into Joe Biden's administration was the first step for that. And as we've been covering all this time, it doesn't really seem like they even gave her due credit, because like even the right says, and I think there's some truth to it, that she was just hired because, diversity pick.
DEI.
Yeah, like I hate to admit that, but like at the same time, she had the credentials. Like it's undeniable, and we talked about her not being as progressive as we'd like her to be, but as a senator, she's had one of the most progressive records.
Yeah.
Like
she just went back on a lot of her promises. She
Right.
just went back on a lot of her on her positions.
Like
she hedged. She pulled a Newsom. She was for Medicare for all and then went back on it.
Of course, yeah, but like I mean, compared to her record as AG, like it's night and day. Like not a good AG, but a fantastic progressive senator with a record that rivals Bernie Sanders almost.
Except
so-
she wasn't into legal weed for some weird reason.
Yeah. And then she kind of like flip flopped on it during the primary. Like I remember
Right.
smoking weed.
That's the thing.
in
She's really
college.
flexible. She's really flexible. That's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
digging. Is that
Sure.
here's what we always want as progressives. We want our political leaders to look at policy polls.
Mm-hmm.
Medicare for all, last time it was tested, polled at around 69-70%. Give me a break. They agree more. The American public agrees more on Medicare for all than it does abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Abortion's about 63%. Medicare for all is 69%.
Yeah, and like in terms of her ability to be flexible on issues, I think that also kind of plays into, your drive, like because she wants power. She wants to be like in the highest positions, and that plays to her favor, because like if that article about I think it was Isaac whoever talking about Walz not wanting to pursue the presidency after 8 years if Harris serves 2 terms, if she was genuinely shocked by that makes even more sense, because she has been a person that has just been ladder climbing for years and years and years, and now that she's finally about to like hopefully take the position of like ultimate power, becoming president of the United States, the fact that someone like Walz would have like the humility and just be humble enough to like reject that if he was offered that position, I imagine she must have been just completely floored, because that's not the way she has thought all this time. That's not the way she has looked at things. Going from AG to senator to vice president,
right,
and now potentially president. So
pretty wild.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So like
I mean, you know what? Someone's got to call her at some point. The historical comparison that I hope she wants at some point. Let's call her a female Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt came in as a VP.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah.
Call her a female Teddy. She would love it. You kidding me? What a compliment that would be.
No, for real.
Female West Coast Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. So the campaign job was a bummer. I don't know if you ever worked on a campaign. Are you thinking about volunteering or anything this season?
Possibly. I mean, given that my county only leans blue, I could probably do something.
Right.
Increased turnout. I mean, this is California. Like, it's kind of a given that it's a Democratic stronghold to begin with. But I think what I would enjoy most about it is just engaging unlikely voters and convincing them of
get out the vote.
Yeah, exactly. Just the talking to normies and convincing them of just at least registering. And also like warning them what we're up against and what like the 2 possible like futures that lay before us.
Well, I'm optimistic about the future for the first time in a long time.
No,
we all kind of bit the bullet with Biden. I mean, we haven't. Yeah, it would probably be the last time we felt this good was when Bernie technically won Iowa, I suppose.
Yes.
Right? Didn't he tied with Buttigieg, but
they
didn't catch up until later or something?
They pulled some shenanigans for sure.
So it was right before South Carolina, right before Jim Clyburn opened his big mouth and told everybody in South Carolina which way to vote.
Yeah.
And that's how Biden became president. Well, not this time. Yeah. This shows you that it would honestly be better. I know it's like we're supposed to have the primary voting process and it's important for a lot of other reasons, but in terms of just president and vice president, you could really do it the old school way and just have it be figured out at the convention.
Yeah.
Or figured out, especially if you have the convention right after the 4th. Yeah. You don't need to have this super long election season. It should be even years. Election season starts after that 4th of July, and then we run it all the way to November 5th. What is that? August, September, October, November. 4 months. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Done. That's what we should do.
Yeah, it's just like anticipation building, honestly. It also reminds people
there's so much money.
Yeah.
There's so much money in campaigns, in these campaigns. The TV ratings, the consulting fees, the lobbyists, the status quo. Never forget how powerful the status quo is.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is study history.
Yeah.
To know how powerful the status quo is, because it is still here in so many goddamn ways. It pisses me off, and that's one thing that maybe I've got that East Coast intensity. I mean, you're a Californian. There are different types of Californians, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm out here on the coast, and I hope my East Coast competitor didn't take over during the interview and put them off. I hope what happened was that there was someone just outstanding, that there was just someone who they had to hire.
Sure.
That's you always. I can deal with losing.
Yeah.
If I lose to someone that I know is better than me.
Sure.
Or at least was better than me that day.
Right.
Sports sense.
Yeah. 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 That's a good way to look at it.
So, that's it for me today, man. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, for all you listeners out there, get out there and volunteer. Check it out. It doesn't have to be just a weekend thing. It's really helpful if you work a random schedule, like you can go in during the week. That's really helpful. But weekends, knocking on doors and showing up for events and getting really into the process, because the election process and government are two different things. There's an old saying, there's a difference between being a great candidate and being a great president, or in more general terms, being a great candidate, being a great nominee, being a great politician, being a great elected official. You can't be any of them if you're not a great candidate first.
Yes. Yes.
So go ahead and learn how to become a good candidate by volunteering at your local Democratic Party office. And if you yourself are not necessarily interested in running for office at some point, maybe you want to work for someone who runs for office. And picking talent is just as important as developing your own talent. Something else to think about as you pursue relationships in this space. Because I think with Walz coming in here, man, there's going to be a lot more participation, not just at the voter level, but at the volunteer level too. It's going to be great.
Yeah, big time.
It's going to be great. All right, well, Stat Pat, I'll let you have the last word, but until then, we are reminding you to know the heart, vote with the head, and you don't get change in America by asking nicely. Yeah, baby. Don't forget it. Tim Walz agrees. I know that.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Peace.
Oh, yeah. We'll see you all next week.
All right. So that was good.